For me, it's looking at the Bitcoin chart and basically saying to myself, all right, well, right now we had the FTX fiasco. The issue here is that since that's occurred, we haven't snapped back. We've been kind of staying in the lower ranges. On a technical basis, that's short-term negative, right? And again, it's called what's called a bear flag, or in spirit of bear flag. So at least in the near term, going into January, I do think there's a little bit more downside. Let's say I only have a tiny position and it goes up. And so you can see here, this longer term trend line on Bitcoin did break through it. So I'm looking at this one here. All right, this kind of one connecting this high. And essentially, if we were to make a strong move up, right? So essentially, this is your big drop on FTX, and that now becomes my zone. All right, so if we were to rally up, let's say we break above that level, and let's just say we do go to 25,000. What I then look to do is, I have to admit that this bigger bearish pattern has now failed. And what I would do is I would look to buy
What if you could look over Gareth's shoulder and know precisely what to do with your crypto investments in 2023, where to buy, what levels to look for, or even his strategies on Bitcoin and Ethereum? In this video, Gareth Soloway, 20-plus years master trader and the chief market strategist of VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com and in themoneystocks.com, will make his best Bitcoin price prediction for 2023 and tell you exactly what to do in each case scenario for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, instead of guessing, you can follow his exact strategies and make life-changing profits in the crypto markets while everyone else still fears the future. This is probably the only video you'll ever need to watch to help make better and more informed decisions. So even though we can't offer investment advice here in the channel, pay close attention until the end.
For me, it's looking at the Bitcoin chart and basically saying to myself, all right, well, right now we had the FTX fiasco. The issue here is that since that's occurred, we haven't snapped back. We've been kind of staying in the lower ranges. On a technical basis, that's short-term negative, right? And again, it's called what's called a bear flag, or in spirit of bear flag. So at least in the near term, going into January, I do think there's a little bit more downside, but there are some positives. I'd love to show you guys some charting action here. One of the positives, and in general, I'm a huge long-term bull on Bitcoin. It's just, I'm also a trader. I'm also a trader who lived through the .com era. That was the early part of my career. So many similarities in how stocks and penny stocks ran in the late 90s and then collapsed to where crypto was over the last couple of years. But one of the positives for Bitcoin, and why I think, yes, there's downside, but I actually think we're going to make a low in 2023, is that we saw the Terra Luna collapse here and price dropped on Bitcoin 45%. Then you had the FTX collapse and price drops 23 or 25%. And so you could arguably make the case that FTX was a bigger deal for crypto than the Terra Luna collapse, but price lost a smaller percentage. And so I think for me, that's saying to me, okay, we're getting closer to that bottom, even if we're not there.
Where and when can we expect a bottom in Bitcoin in 2023?
In terms of where Bitcoin could bottom in 2023, I'm looking at 6 months out from the FTX drop, which is right around May to June. And then also we're looking at, right around that 10,000-ish area, potentially, maybe a little bit below in terms of Bitcoin. I also think that with Bitcoin, the 10,000 will be a max pain. And Scott, I know you know about this stuff in terms of, where do you force the most fear out of people? And it probably would be around that 10,000 break. If you look at the stock market, and the stock market's now been in a bear market since basically the start of 2022, and you've had these, in bear markets, you tend to get what's called rip your face off rallies, right? Where you have these mega sized reversals that make people think the low is in. And we really haven't seen that. If you look at Bitcoin, like the biggest rally we had was this right here, and you haven't seen that. So I agree with you that in a weird way, you'd almost expect it to catch people off guard and kind of rip up to 20 or 30 before that next leg potentially lower.
According to Gareth, Why hasn't Bitcoin reverted its price action even after holding its price decently after the FTX Black Swan event?
I think at some point in 2023, and it could be a contagion even from the stock market. I'm actually very bearish on the stock market. I think we're heading into a recession. And so I think prices in stocks will go a lot lower. And I almost think that that's going to be the kicker for why Bitcoin declines up into a point. I think that once we get some regulation in the space, which really regulation is code for transparency for all us retail investors. We need transparency now. And I think once we get that, then you're going to start to attract big money. If there's one thing I realize, and you can see it with the big money that was invested in FTX, big money is now 100% on the sidelines. I'm not seeing any movement in the hedge fund industry to invest in crypto until there's transparency, because they have this fiduciary responsibility to safeguard funds, and there's just no clarity now.
Want to know his positions and strategies? Keep watching until the end and take some notes.
What I've been doing in terms of my personal investments is I basically decided that when we were in that 17-ish thousand range, that I would start accumulating a little bit of a longer term HODL position in Bitcoin. But what I did before I started to do that, I took a certain amount of money. I said, this is what I feel comfortable based on my net worth, etc., for putting in Bitcoin. And I divided it into 6 portions, equal portions. And I took that first 1/6, and I put it in around 17 and change. And then the idea is every 3,000 down, I'll just add another 1/6 until I accumulate. This way, I'm not trying to be a fancy trader here and pick the exact bottom, because honestly, I'd probably miss it. But at least I have exposure on the way down if it does start to rip higher.
That's if Bitcoin keeps dropping. But what should we do if Bitcoin actually breaks higher levels?
There's, let's say I only have a tiny position and it goes up. And so you can see here, this longer term trend line on Bitcoin did break through it. So I'm looking at this one here. All right, this kind of one connecting this high. And essentially, if we were to make a strong move up, right? So essentially, this is your big drop on FTX, and that now becomes my zone. All right, so if we were to rally up, let's say we break above that level, and let's just say we do go to 25,000. What I then look to do is, I have to admit that this bigger bearish pattern has now failed. And what I would do is I would look to buy what we call a retrace to the scene of the crime, which is basically the retrace. And so once something breaks out,
flip of resistance to support. Right.
Exactly. I'm never one to chase. Like, chasing is the cardinal sin in investing and trading. What you'll do is you always get pullbacks. You just have to know what levels will now be support, and they are former resistance levels. So for instance, I would then start to pick some up right in this range if we can take out. And I think the FTX high is that's now the level to beat, as in terms of charting. Like, that is a psychological point where if we could break through that, now you're talking about potential further upside.
Want to know about Ethereum as well? Here are his predictions and investing strategies.
And the one thing I'm watching here, right, is this trend line right here, this downsloping one. I saw you had it on Bitcoin. It's basically the same sort of thing. And notice how you have this little mini bull flag right here. All right, now we are backing off. Stock market is down today again. But if we could break this level, I would say around 1,235, 1,240, you actually have the potential to retest this high and maybe even get to a longer term trend line. Let me erase this one. This would be a longer term up move.
17-ish or something?
Yeah, back to about 1450 to 1,500.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of interesting there in terms of maybe we get a short term move up before that next flush to the downside. Let's just say we do break above this area. All right. So you have 2 options, and one would be obviously a retrace to this FTX high, same kind of thing right there. The other one would be this one back here, which I actually kind of would favor because it's a longer term trend line, where same kind of thing. If you get the big breakout here, let's say all of a sudden we do get some regulation that potentially is positive for crypto in terms of transparency, it causes a price spike, then I would look to buy the pullback back to that level. So you're looking to buy, 1,400-ish area, 1,450 on that trend line retrace. So what I would kind of be looking for is, while Bitcoin makes new lows, let's say 10 or 9,000, you probably see Ethereum come down to the double bottom here. And that would be my big buy level, right? In a poetic sense, it's almost like, okay, that's a technical support. It kind of retests this double bottom, but doesn't really break it, while Bitcoin does in the next few months.
And in case you are wondering about Gareth's thoughts on other altcoins like Solana, Cardano, etc.
So for me, it's mostly with the alts, except for Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's mostly shorter term trading, just because again, I'm just like so fuzzy, and in terms of at this stage of my career, I'm in my 40s as well, and it's like with the family, I don't really have that risk tolerance to just hope and pray that something 10x is over a period of time, unless I truly like believe in its longevity. And so for me, it's more just sticking with the longer term on Ethereum and Bitcoin and trading the smaller alts.
Are you enjoying this video? Please remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. These are Gareth's recommendations for this bear market.
I think that people just as crypto investing goes, you want to, generally trade it, look to buy key technical levels, sell pops until we get out of this bear market. We showed some of the trend lines where once you get above those, things could start to change. And then just honestly, I think that even myself at this point is in the boat of saying, let's see what the regulation comes forward. I think the sooner the better, because then at least we know where we stand. What do these alts have to go through to be securities from the SEC's point of view? And that clarity actually will give confidence to investors out there with money to put into crypto. So, I think that's really about it. Just hang on to your hats and know that at least I'm a true believer that Bitcoin will rise and really take out the all-time highs probably in the next 3 to 5 years. So I think it's a good time to look to potentially accumulate. Just be ready for a little more pain.
We believe this video is worth gold, so let us know your comments below, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. Who knows if this video can save their investments and change their life too. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.